Okay, 1995 Nissan Quest won't start. Good battery voltage. Um, New starter that was installed a few months ago. It ran fine until last week. Sunday just won't start. Um, there's no clank, no noise. Fuse checked, it's okay. Relay, I haven't checked the relays yet, but I removed the inhibitor relay. Look at the schematics here. The inhibitor relays this guy right here. So what happens is the battery will constantly power to one of the terminal to the starter motor. But then there's the small wire to the pin 1 of the starter motor, and this pin 1 will energize only if I turn on the ignition switch to a star. When I turn the star, I supposed to be the relay will get energized from on this side, and that will turn on 7 and 6. Right, with 7 and 6 short or closed, 7 and 6 closed, that will start the starter motor. Normally 3 and 4 are closed. And so if I remove the inhibitor relay, if I measure the socket without turning on the switch, I should get no voltage on pin 7. But if I turn on the ignition switch on, pin 7 should have a voltage. So let's try that. So pin 7 is the middle of the socket. Okay, so this is the inhibitor relay. Which is this guy right here. That I removed. So to read this is that you read from the socket here. So it's pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. So I put my voltmeter here on pin 7. And then the other terminal to ground. So that tells me the ignition switch works. Right? Turn it on, I get voltage on the pin 7. Now what about pin 6? So pin 6, I have to put in the inhibitor relay back in. So once I put that in here, I can measure on this pin here at E29. Now where's E29? So E29, if you follow the battery terminal here, right? So it shows here some battery. There's a one wire go directly to the starter motor. That's the thick wire here. Now this wire, if we follow it, will go all the way to here, and then there's a smaller wire on the side coming out that goes to this little switch here. So this is E29. So this switch, which I already disconnected, that's this one right here. And so the other side of the switch is this guy here. What I'm going to do is put the voltmeter in here And if I turn on my ignition switch, if this really is okay, or if the inhibitor switch is okay, then I should get a voltage at E29. So let's check that. So that tells me either the relay is bad or I'm not getting a voltage on this side here. So I need a voltage 12 volt across pin 1 and 2 in order to turn on this relay, in order to close pin 6 and 7 and open 3 and 4. So what I can do next is that I remove the inhibitor relay again and put my DMM pin 1 and I will turn on the ignition switch. If this inhibitor switch is okay, then I should get a voltage 12 volt at or whatever voltage at pin 1 as I turn on the ignition. Let's try it out. So again, I want to measure the voltage drop at pin 1. So that is, according to this diagram here, it's the one on the bottom right. So that's this one here. As I turn the switch on, I'm not getting a voltage here. That means something here is not right. So first of all, I'm going to check the fuse block, 10A. Okay, now I'm checking the 10A fuse. That's going to the inhibitor switch. The 10A fuse is fused with the letter Z. So that's the fuse in the under the dashboard. There's this one right here. It shows on the menu, it's the last one. It doesn't show on the panel here, but it shows on the menu. So this last one here, 10 amp, electron ignition. So let's see this fuse. Usually looks okay. So after I remove this fuse M15, I measure the on either side of the fuse, the metal fuse holder, either side had voltage. So power is not going to the fuse. 10 is not going to the fuse. I need to check why that's the reason here. Okay, so I traced out the fuse under the dashboard. So what I found out was that the internal lamp's okay, so this fuse Y is also okay. The fuse Z is not working, so this, and also the turn signal is not okay, so this whole line here does not have a voltage what it's supposed to be. So I trace out to all the way to the ignition relay. So for the ignition relay, the pin number 1 actually has a voltage. Okay, so the ignition relay is one of these guys. So I need to remove this panel first. There's a couple of screws here, one here. It's the bottom one here, according to the. Okay, so I found out that this terminal here is actually came loose. The solder joint broke off. I put a little bit of a solder on the wire. Let's see if it works. Of course, if it works, this is only a temporary fix. It works.